Welcome to the colourwork technique video for the Whispering Cloud sweater, a knitting pattern by Sew Willow. In this video, I will guide you through the enchanting colourwork techniques used to create this cozy top-down sweater with its high neck, gradient sky colours and a ribbed waistband with side slits. Details of the yarns and colours can be found in the video description below. Before we begin, here's how I like to set up my knitting. I find a cake turntable perfect for knitting in the round to turn my work as I knit, especially for areas such as the sleeves. I've divided my yarn into 3 bowls to keep things organized. The main color strand from the drops air goes in one bowl, while the 2 background color strands of BrushedAlpaca Slik share another. The third bowl holds the 2 strands of white BrushedAlpaca Slik, which I use to create the fluffy clouds. Now a basic overview of how I use the magic loop technique. When I finish knitting the stitches on the left hand needle, I pull the cable through to move the half section of stitches on the cable onto my left hand needle. I now bring the needles together, and then in order to maintain even tension throughout the project, I keep 2 to 3 stitches on the right hand needle instead of removing all of my stitches. This prevents any visible tension differences and makes keeping the various strands together less confusing. Here's where the magic happens. As I knit sections of background color, I float the white strands behind the work. In my left hand, I hold one main color strand of drops air and the 2 background colors of BrushedAlpaca Slik together. In my right hand, I have 2 strands of white BrushedAlpaca Slik. On every second background stitch, I catch the white yarn to keep it neat. This method, often called locked floats, eliminates long floats at the back of the work. Let's look at this technique slowly. To create those neat locked floats, I begin by inserting the right hand needle into the next stitch, ready to knit. I then bring the white yarn forward with my right hand, just as in English knitting. Then I continue to pick up the 3 strands of yarn in my left hand like in continental knitting, but before I pull the yarn through, I carefully take the white yarn back over the 3 strands. Once this is done, I can continue to bring those 3 strands through as usual to complete the knit stitch. On the next stitch, I knit a normal stitch with my 3 strands, and then on the following stitch again, I catch the white yarn in the same method. Now when it's time to transition from the background colors to the white clouds, I separate the background colors from the main drops air strand and move them over to the right. I then join the white strands to the main color on the left. Now as I continue knitting the cloud section with the white strands in my left hand, I use that same locked floats technique to secure the background color strands behind the work on every second stitch. It's a bit fiddly to begin with, but you will soon find it's a rhythmic, almost meditative process that keeps the back of your work looking really neat. For a better view, let's look overhead. See how the bowls of yarn are positioned so that I can somewhat seamlessly switch from the background colors to the white. Also note that it's important to keep as little tension on the yarn in the right hand, which is floating, as possible. You will still find that this technique does result in a slightly less stretchy fabric than without the locked floats. But the garment has been designed to have positive ease anyway, and this should not affect the fit. The purpose of these stranded knitting techniques with different strands held together is to allow a gradual change of sky background color, and it creates the effect of a softer, fuzzy edge transition between the clouds and sky, giving the sweater that dreamy, cloud-like texture. It's sort of like painting with yarn. Thank you for joining me in exploring the techniques behind the Whispering Cloud sweater. Stay tuned for more videos on the Sew Willow channel. I'll show you how to add elastic to the ribbed neck, ensuring it stays snug, and teach you how to steam block your work with just an iron, a towel, and a face cloth. Remember to subscribe for more knitting and sewing inspiration and techniques.